What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Van Chats on the Out of Collective. My name's John Kroom. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave us a review. But anyways, enough of all that bullshit, and let's go ahead and dive into this week's episode with Charles Aaron. And he's sitting in his home in Minneapolis. Charles Aaron is the managing director of Rally, and he didn't like the word owner, but he pretty much does everything. So, like, he is the guy behind Rally Cycling, and which I'm really excited to have on my podcast because I was a huge fan of Optum back in the day when they were going up against the Blue Train. And then when they switched to Rally, I thought they've always had the coolest kits. They've always had the coolest squad. And like with Tom Zerbel to Eric Young to Shane Klein, who, were, kind of like guys I looked up to. And then I had the pleasure of racing with some of these guys later in my life. Now to meet the guy behind that team that put together some of the fastest guys in the country. And currently they're all in Europe right now, so I haven't seen them in ages. But anyways, Charles, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's great to be here. I told you earlier, this is my first podcast, so I'm a little nervous.
No, man, and I appreciate that. Like the fact that you said you knew who I was made my night, because that means that there was a contract sitting there and we just had to give it to Joey Roscoff or somebody. And that's what I think is when you say you knew who I was. That's what I think was going through your head. That's exactly. It's like, right. Oh, Joey won this national title, so we got to rip up John's, but we'll try to call him next year.
No. It's just great to be here. And then, cool, you talk about the Optum days and Rally days. Yeah. We went through a transition this fall. We're now Human Powered Health, which is
that's right.
Something we can talk about too. So, a lot of cool things going on here, and just happy to spend some time with you and share.
So where story. Man, and and this is probably going to throw you off completely, and I don't know if we have all night, but I'm going to try to eke out as much time of you as I can until you just get sick of me, because I'm really interested in this, because where does it all start, man? Like, where does, was there something pre-Optum? And I mean, even then, like with some of the junior teams, like, wasn't there like a feeder team that went into Optum? Like, where does it all kind of
it even
start,
goes back even further.
Yeah, I know, right?
And only a few people know this. So my background, I grew up in Minneapolis. I got into bike racing. I was one of those goofy kids, didn't really couldn't play basketball, couldn't play softball, couldn't play baseball. My father, God bless him, he tried a few things, and somehow I don't know how I got onto a bike, and it was at a very young age, and I just kept going, and just something I was really drawn to. So I did my share of racing, amateur. I'm giving you the fast track here. I wound up on in my 20s out on the East Coast, racing out of Maryland and up and down the East Coast.
Mainly road, yeah. Like
it was all road. I did some mountain biking.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it, but man, falling on a mountain bike in those days was not fun. And I want to say I was 25, 24. I had gotten married at the time, and just had an opportunity. I got a phone call. Hey, would you like to run our team? And it was with Ben Serrata and Fat City Cycles, which is an old brand. Yeah. Actually, both those brands have passed now. And I said, sure, why not? Let's do it. And I was just having this conversation the other day with somebody. I was always attracted to marketing, sport. I believe in sports marketing. I love the sports cycling. And when I'm told no, it actually excites me even more.
Oh yeah.
So it was more of a challenge, and nothing more challenging to try and get a team together in the world of cycling, especially here in America. So in 2000, sorry, my dogs.
No, that's cool, man.
We've been away at her leash.
That's cool, man.
This is 1994.
Oh, cool. I was born in 93. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, you're a young guy. So this is 95. I'm sorry, 1995. My first team was a mountain bike and road team, coming through Serrata and Fat City Cycles. I don't even remember some of the guys' names, but it was a great experience. And then in 96, it was an Olympic year. I got hired by a company, iconic brand from the past. It's not around anymore. I got some great stories about those days, but it was Ross Bicycles
Okay.
on their mountain bike team. And yeah, I don't
Okay.
even know if you're aware of it. I mean, it's
No,
just,
man. I've never
oh,
even
this
heard of it.
was, they were the original, I think, mountain bike brand in the
Wow.
80s.
Yeah,
And
see, my wherewithal on mountain biking, especially back in that day, is Tinker Juarez. And the only
yep,
reason why I know Tinker Juarez is because we both ride Boyd wheels.
yeah,
And I got to know him and we got to hang out in the plane. Have you ever seen the movie Con Air?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We did a podcast in
My
the
favorite
plane of
movie.
Con Air. Oh yeah, dude.
That's
The only
awesome.
movie that Nicolas Cage is the best
Yeah,
in. But we did a podcast in the same plane in Utah on the tarmac that they filmed the film in. It
that's
was
awesome.
awesome. And then yeah, I lived in Jeff Pierce's basement and he told me
Oh
about his
yeah.
time working for GT bicycles. So
Yeah, so
that's
I
about
remember Jeff
it.
in those days.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I was probably one of the few guys that knew Jeff because I had a poster of
Okay.
Jeff Pierce on my wall. And
Oh,
fast
okay.
forward, I have a great relationship with Jeff at USA Cycling. We talk occasionally.
Yeah.
And Joanne, uh,
Oh yeah, that's right.
she works with us too. So no, Jeff, I mean, won I think in '87 on Champs-Élysées, and it was
Yep.
unbelievable. And I mean, one of my heroes, and I always tell him that, and he's like, stop, stop,
Yeah.
stop. But
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't like
I
that. He definitely plays it down a little bit. It's kind of
yeah, no,
cool.
Jeff's a good guy. And if you listen to this, Jeff, you're a good guy. I like working with you. And, of course I'm gonna say that. But
Yeah.
mountain biking was really different then. And what's interesting is I only had maybe a year racing on mountain bikes on the East Coast. I really didn't like it. It was very rocky. The terrain was super technical. I came from the Midwest, Minnesota, where it was, much more of like riding fire roads, things like that. I enjoyed riding in the mountains, the views, the training, but it just wasn't something that came natural for me. So
Yeah.
fast
Yeah.
forward a year or two, I'm running a World Cup mountain bike team. And my history was Ross Bicycles. Then it transitioned over to Barracuda. We landed a company called Nautilus Nutritionals. That's where I got my hand in doing sponsorship, things like that. And then ironically, had an opportunity with Cadillac. And we had a few years racing under Catera, which was the sports car that zigged. This is way before your day.
Yeah.
That was branded Catera. And, this is when we had a World Cup mountain bike cross country team racing all over the world and going to races, Northern Nationals. And I'll let you know a little secret. Our team car was a Cadillac Escalade, driving all our rigs. And I
That's
mean,
awesome.
we had a great time. I mean, it was
Yeah.
the sport was kind of on the tail end of the Norba dynasty that was created. It was wonderful. I miss it. I miss being in these beautiful cities, Mammoth and Canmore, Alberta, and Big Bear, and Seven Springs in Pennsylvania. We even had one here in Minnesota. It was I think Red Wing, Minnesota. There was a Northern National, and it was great to bring our team here in front of my hometown. But those are fun days, and it really, for me, it really showcased how important marketing, sports marketing, value proposition, return on
Yeah.
investment, all those things working with a brand like Cadillac. I think I was told I was the youngest person that ever walked out of a partnership deal at Cadillac. I think I was like 26, 27 years old, even though I
Yeah.
felt old. But to go put on a suit, a briefcase, make presentations, fly into Detroit, dealing with ad agencies and their agencies. I mean, it was just an unbelievable experience. And I got to say, the people that we worked with then, they really mentored me in many, many ways
Wow.
that led me to where I am today.
No, and see, that's what's like the crazy thing, because then where do you find yourself? Do you start Optum? Like, did you start Rally and Optum, or like, did you take it over? Like, did somebody call you in? Like, how do you find yourself in human powered health, like today? You know what I mean? Like, because
Yeah.
you guys are getting up there to being one of the and correct me, because you probably know this answer. You probably are one of the oldest pro teams in America right now, right?
That's a great question. Danny has been doing this a long time too. Danny Van
Yeah.
Hout at Wildlife. So
Yeah.
he looks better than I do. I think he has more darker hair than I do.
Yeah.
But we're definitely up there. And one of the things that I take a lot of pride in is I think we're one of the longest women's teams too in
Oh,
America. I think this is our 11th season. I could be mistaken. 10th, 11th season. I'm pretty sure it's our 11th season. And I take a lot of pride.
especially definitely at that status.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's only growing. I mean, unfortunately, that's what I'm trying to say though. Unfortunately, we see teams like here, I mean, heck, we can even go back to like Gord Frazier with, the Silber and
Yeah.
I mean, some of the teams that he had before it. I mean, because you can count what was it, Floyd's, right? But that only
Yeah.
lasted like 1 or 2 years. And then, which I think kind of folded in, like a lot of those riders folded into wildlife. And
Yeah.
so, and so, I mean, you've kind of been through a lot of it, which is kind of interesting because, you're talking about these mountain bike days, but you were on the front end of the crit days where there was like $40,000 prize purse in Novant
Yeah.
Health.
I actually was on a conference call this morning and I said, remember guys, when we were going to Sunny King and we were going to,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to think the cities like Alabama and Joe Martin, and those are all
Yeah.
fabulous races. But let me tell you, last week was Greece, this week was France, Spain, and where else were we? Hungary, Tour of
Yeah.
Hungary. I mean, it's different, and it's not so long ago when I was getting on a plane, flying every weekend, and going to Chicago or Maryland or Redlands or Gila, things like that. I've never been to Gila, but where we had people going there in America, and I miss it. I miss it a lot. I'm a big believer in racing in America.
Yeah.
It's something that we're really pushing really hard as an organization to bring more races to the States. But it's just amazing to see. I wake up, my mornings are pretty early,
Yeah.
whether it's phone calls or watching races and then making phone calls. But the other day I had 3 computer screens on, and it was our women's team in Spain, which they started pretty early. Then it was the Tour of Hungary and Chorberlin on Sunday. And I don't think I got off the couch until like noon, 1 o'clock. And I watched three races live on the
Wow.
internet through, broadband and all that fun stuff. So it's pretty amazing. We're not done yet.
Yeah.
But the history of this really goes back to about almost 10 years of running mountain bike teams, and then also BMX. We played around in BMX as a business,
Jeez.
which was just completely foreign to me. I thought I was an
Yeah.
old guy at 30 some years old, which I wasn't, because it would definitely make me feel really old right now. But doing X Games, we had I'm trying to remember his name. I am embarrassed. I can't remember his name. It's one of those nights. But we had a rider, an athlete, win the X Games.
Jeez.
Just amazing athlete. Bruce Chrisman.
Yeah.
Bruce Chrisman. Amazing. I mean, on TV Saturday night, and he beat Ryan Nyquist and Dave Mira. I think it was Dave Mira.
Yeah.
And
And see, like, this is stuff that we don't even know. And so, like, I'm trying to figure out how the hell do you go from X Games to Perry Roubaix women's, or,
yeah, that's great.
like Greece or the Tour of Hungary, like for the
Yeah.
men? Like, what, like, how does that, where did that transition come? Who called you and was like, yo, I think you're the
Well,
guy? Because,
that's a great question. And who called me? I can honestly say no one called me. It was me calling
yeah,
them. And
wow. So
um
you just had a vision for this. Like that was
yeah,
it.
when we did we went from mountain biking into, this is about 2001, 2000, where we played around with BMX. We actually had a snowboard comp team, we had a skateboard team. Not really my cup of tea. And I always had this background into road racing. Our mountain bike teams looked like a road team racing on
Yeah.
mountain bikes. Like I remember like Missy Giove. I remember we pulled up in a team Escalade, and she just stopped in her tracks and was like, that is the coolest team car. But it was wrapped, and it was with trailers and awnings, and we took a lot of what how a road team functions.
Yeah.
And I've come across some old articles that were written, just because I'm going through some stuff. And like there was teamwork, even though we had a few guys racing cross country and a few women racing cross country, but it was one team. So when I look at the mountain bike days, I see what we've applied to what we do now. We are one team. We just happen
Yeah.
to have male and female programming, male and
Yeah.
female events. And what I love is when everybody's together, and it's a lot of people, but they are teammates. We are all teammates here. It's not the women's team doing their own thing with their women's mechanic and all that. Like we have directors, they work with the men's programs, the women's programs, but it's one team. And that's one of the things that was the core philosophy that we had in the mountain bike days. And really it worked very well. And then, I got into snowboard, I got into like the action sports, which was really hot. Wasn't my thing.
And so that's like in the middle of this. So like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's it. It was kind of like when we were running the mountain bike team, and on the tail end of the mountain bike team, we had
let me get a timeline. And I know I have you all over the place, but
yeah.
So 95 to win is the mountain bike.
2001.
And then is that BMX like 2002?
Yeah, 2001 was BMX and action sports. And then my life, there's always a series of events.
Yeah.
It changes direction, and 9/11 really was a game changer for me.
Why is that?
That was the first time where I think, like, I remember these conversations. It was in September. The sponsorship cycle is you're working really hard. In the fall. That's the start of the fall for us, and people really were scared, and rightfully so. And we didn't know where spending was going to come from, and what the economic situation.
See, I was in like third grade, so I didn't see the impact that 9/11. I mean,
thanks.
That being said, I didn't see how that would have an impact on a cycling team. Like I can see the impact on people's lives and I guess, people in New York and stuff like that. And even flying,
flying. I mean, I remember, I remember how we went to Interbike. That was the end of September. I know the World Championships I did not go to that. That was in Vail that year. And there was a lot of concern about flying and security, things like that. But that was a real change in direction, and decisions were not being made and things like that. So I actually, full disclosure, I actually sat out a few years.
Wow.
And said, I want to go back and build what I really am passionate about and what I love. And I joke around with it and say, I want to build a band, bring the band back together and do a road team. And I had gotten a divorce at the time, and at the end of 2001, early 2002. So I was dealing with some things, and I said, I want to redo this and do it in the capacity that I think is really viable. And I'm going to go out there and pitch it. And it took a while to pitch it. I mean, it really took some time. We threaded the needle. I had some great people that were involved, and it really, I got to give John Kelly at Kelly Benefit Strategies a tremendous amount of credit. He had the vision for this at a time where, it was kind of crazy idea. You have to have a vision. I'm going to do a cycling team, and we're going to brand our business. And the one thing I clearly remember with John was, because he's in the health business. He's an insurance broker in the mid-Atlantic, and it's a different time then in 2005, 2006. I remember the words, I'm the bearer of bad news because our rates are going up and we got to change that. And by exemplifying, by showcasing healthy living through a cycling team, that was the start of Human Powered Health.
Wow.
Going back all those years. And honestly, I didn't really quite see it because I had a lot of other things going on, building a business and things like that. But, I remember the conversations with John, like, we want to have healthy brands that are supporting health. We want to exemplify, cycling is healthy, which I'm a big believer in, very big believer. You can live a healthier life by exercise, not just cycling. Empower oneself to live and exceed human performance and human potential, to actually better oneself through health. And it was very, very viable, very, very exciting. And it really starts going back to, I think we launched the team in 2007 and just full gangbuster. I mean, it's been an incredible experience ever since. So
has there ever been a moment, and because like with we've seen it like with, United Healthcare, and I don't know how deep you can go into this, but I think this is kind of cool to know. Because one thing I've learned about cycling is that there's a lot of money in it, and there's also not a lot of money in it at the same time, if that makes any sense. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
makes a lot of sense.
Like,
Yeah.
and so like, it's crazy to me how, like, for example, Floyd's, and if you're listening, Floyd, or if you're listening, Gord, um, I'm sorry, but it was interesting to see 100 grand go in, 100 grand go out. Nothing came of it.
Right.
Like, it just nothing came of it, and we all see that. And so, was there ever a moment where, because I don't know if you're just a lucky guy, because it seems like you're always on the front end of the stuff, because mate, like, I know you say that you're really passionate about American cycling, but let's be real here. Like, again, you were around, like, Rally was racing some of those crits when there was a $40,000 prize
Yeah.
purse. And when they
Yeah.
showed up, when there was, when United Healthcare was there, it wasn't the United Healthcare show anymore.
Right.
And so,
Right.
like, it's still like, it wasn't like you guys were only a road team, but you guys were racing on the road, because it was almost like you guys could see the future, because now the biggest prize purse at some of these crits is $7,000.
Yeah. Which is,
And some of the races are going away.
But yeah, it's a fundamental change. And, we got to go back in time a little bit. In 2007, the first year of the Kelly team, Kelly Benefit Strategies, I said, we got to go to Europe. We gotta plant seeds. We got to go forward. And we did the Millcross. We went to the Irish Millcross, sent a team. We took a licking. I think I can't even remember. It's so many years how we did, but I think we took a licking on this one. And what an incredible experience for everybody. Like narrow roads, road furniture, not racing in America. And it goes back all those years. And every year we have gone overseas, whether it was Asia, whether it was Europe, whether it was South America. We've even gone to South Africa and raced. But that was a core thing. And I remember, the first meeting I had with Jonas Carney, who's been an incredible colleague, friend, confidant. And I'll tell you, I always say this, Jonas was a fierce professional athlete, unbelievable athlete. Jonas, don't get mad at me. You're an absolute amazing director and an unbelievable leader, and transcends anything you've done on the bike. Like he instills confidence in his athletes. He's the real deal. And we've been by each other's side all these years. It's going on 16, 17 years. Unbelievable. And to see him, he lives in Spain right now, full-time, committed to this, and looking back to that first European race. I mean, we didn't have a team car. We didn't have anything. And to now what we have, it's pretty eye-opening for all of us. But the job's not done. I mean, we're
for sure.
I can't sit here and go, hey, I'm happy with where we're at. No, we're very driven. I mean, I'm excited about where we're at, but we have desires and motivation, and we want to continue to move it. But the core concept of how we built this, it goes back to the 90s, where, hey, running mountain bike teams like a road team, and a lot of lessons learned. Oh my God, lessons learned. I learn every single day. We have an unbelievable leadership team. We have unbelievable staff. I mean, this is the best in the business, and without them, we wouldn't be as successful as we are. I certainly wouldn't be.
Well, that's the crazy thing, because I got to be honest with you, Charles. Like, I knew of you, and I knew there had to be somebody there, but it was like, I only knew Rally of Jonas Carney, and like,
I like it.
And I know Joanne, and and that was about it. And then I'm assuming you guys contract mechanics, and I'm assuming you guys have people at service course and things like that. And then I didn't even think like I would ever, sit down with the owner or the, the managing director, and kind of pick his brain, and then get to a point where it's like, man, this starts when you were like, Optum, Rally, Human Powered Health starts when you were 25. I'm 28. So that's 3 years.
Yeah.
After,
So, you go back to 95, it was Fat City Cycles. Then, Nautilus, or it was Barracuda, Nautilus Nutritionals. No, I'm sorry, Ross Jeep. Forgot about that. Yeah. And working with Jeep was also, Jeep is an automobile company. That was in 96, Olympic year for mountain bike. First time ever mountain bike was in the Olympics. It was very exciting in those days. And we were going every weekend. I mean, I used to count the weekends in the summer. Okay, if I can get through the 6th weekend and get to the end of August, I'll be okay. Like, every single weekend, things were in motion, and it was cross country, cross continent, going to Canada, and then you got to be in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Then in 97 was Nautilus Nutritionals, Barracuda Nautilus Nutritionals. And then we landed Cadillac under the Katera brand. And that was 2 years. Incredible.
Yeah.
On the
And
mountain bike
so,
track.
and so, so yeah. So John Kelly comes on. What did you say? 2007? Is that?
Yeah, we had met in
Also another guy that's been in the sport. Like he supports a junior team with I'm blanking on his name. Is Ima? And that's not Ima.
Nima.
Nima. I
Yeah.
feel like such a dick because we talk quite a bit.
Yeah, Nima.
But it's
Yeah,
Nima.
he lives down in South Carolina, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Really
And so
great guy.
that's kind of where I'm from originally. And so so I've chatted with him before, but there's also that team there. And so it's not like the money is all going one direction. I mean, obviously I'm assuming there's a little bit more going that direction, but he's still putting it into the sport for the young bucks. And even I think there's a women's program that's coming out of that right now.
Yeah,
And
no, they've done a
insane.
great job. It started out, it's called lateral stress velo. And I had a friend, I have a friend, Dr. David Scharf in Baltimore. I was living in Baltimore at the time, and I was working night jobs, 2-fingering proposals. For all of you who want to I'll just tell you, full disclosure, for all of you who want to have, start a race team, and you need to bring some money in to pay the bills, the best job you could ever ask. And I stand behind this. I was a valet at the downtown Hyatt in Baltimore.
Really?
City. And
so I'm running a UCI track trade team right now, and I'm also trying to be an athlete of that. And man, I am learning a lot.
Yeah. No, it's a constant learning curve. But I would type proposals, and I got endless stories on that in that period of my life.
Yeah.
Ironically, with the Baltimore bike race, there's a lot of history. There's a UCI bike race in Baltimore this Labor Day. It all ties into where I was at Hyatt, because I think the finish line is like right there.
What?
Yeah. And so there's a lot of history kind of coming together that weekend for us. But my friend Dr. David Scharf, he said, look, I met John Kelly. John, don't get mad at me. He goes, I think this guy, he actually may see some value in this.
Yeah.
Let's try and get a meeting. And I got a meeting with John. I had really dark hair. I had the full on crazy hair, curly hair. And he was drawn to this. He was drawn to what it could transcend into or transform into for his business, what it could do for his clients, what it could stand for the community, what it could stand for the values of what his company stands for. He was really, really drawn to it. And I remember, and we had lunch. He had ordered lunch for us. It was a super hot Baltimore day. I put a suit on and I'm sweating, and I parked my car. I told him this years later. I parked my car at an old Land Cruiser, 84 Land Cruiser that leaked oil everywhere. And I parked it at another building thinking it wasn't his building. And as we walked out of the building, he goes, I'm going to go to the other building, walk with me. And there's my car sitting right there. But it was just a hot Baltimore day. And he asked me some really great questions. And one of the things was, let me get this straight. Are you the guy who's going to pick the riders and drive the team car? And I said, John, there's 2 types of people. There's one that gets the team car, and there's one that drives the team car. I'm the guy who gets the team car.
Yeah.
I'm the guy who goes out and builds the program and gives all the tools to the athletes and all the tools to the staff to really make this as good as it can be. So, I think 16, 17 years later, here we are. I spoke to John last night for a while. We were very close. He's not going anywhere. He's coming with me, I should say, and my wife, family to the Tour de France to cheer on the women, at this inaugural, I call it the modern day Tour de Femmes. There was a Tour de France 35, 40 years ago, but we're going to be there cheering July 24th 24th, I believe, cheering everybody on. And I'm taking a lot of pride in this. It is the Tour de France.
Yeah.
Somebody said it best, Charles. It's your first Tour de France. It's not a men's Tour de France. It's not a women's
Yeah.
Tour de France. It's our first, and it's going to be the first of many, I hope.
Just how many teams in America dream of doing what you've done? You know what I mean? And you're gonna in what is it? You said June 24th, yeah? It's not July.
July 24th. I'm sorry.
July.
Yep, July
Yeah,
24th.
July. So July. You know, you're gonna be sitting in France and watching your ladies
Yeah.
fucking smash it. Like that's
Yeah.
so cool, man. Like
Yeah. No, it's great. And you know, the
Yeah.
other thing is, you know, and maybe I'm getting a little down the line on this, but we are probably going to have, you know, out of the legacy chain of the Kelly, Rally, Optum, now Human Part Health riders that are going to be in the men's Tour de France finishing that same
Yeah.
day. And I hope to see them, like
Yeah.
Mike Woods, Sepp Kuss,
Yeah.
G Boivin, Guy Boivin, who rides for Israel. Just because they don't ride with us, they're still part of our family. And there's others too.
What's that
and I'm
like
really
for
looking
you?
forward to seeing them.
Like what's that's actually really good. Like especially like a Sepp Kuss, you know? Like
Yeah.
he wins Redlands, and then I think you guys gave him like an Estagiaire spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, let's see what you can do. And now you look at him and you're like, gee, what, like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Like, where, you know, and Mike Woods is a great example of like, oh yeah, he's too old, or yeah, he hasn't started soon enough.
Mike, whatever Mike puts his head to, he'll be great at. I
Yeah,
mean,
and so
yeah.
What is that like for you though? You know?
You know, it's, I guess the right word is bittersweet. It can be bittersweet, but I will say, I am so proud of these guys. Like, you know, Sepp Kuss, and then you throw Ben King and Chad Haga, and
Yeah.
you know, David Vayu, who I spoke to, I don't know, maybe 7 months ago, who's got a few kids and dogs and a real job. He was so proud to tell me that.
Yeah.
You know, he rode for Europcar. Ryan Anderson rode for Direct Energy. You know, Carter Jones rode for Giant. You know, I forget the names of these teams. It goes by so quick.
Yeah. It
But,
goes from, what was that, Blanco, I guess, at that time?
yeah, I think so. But you know, these are guys that I'm just so proud of, and I feel like, you know, maybe I'm turning into the old guy, and I'm not that old, but these are really good guys, good people, and we have it on the women too.
Megan Jastrab.
Leah Kirschman.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when I do see them, especially like I ran into Sepp a while back, I don't know, a few years ago, and he just stopped in his tracks. Mike Woods at Flush Malone a few years ago, at the start, he was riding to the start, saw me, turned around, came back, and you know, you hear them like 10, 9, and I'm like, Mike, there's a race starting here.
Yeah.
He's like, how's your wife? How's family? And it also transcends into the current athletes. You know, I have not been in front of our team that much because of COVID. We had 2020, 21 was absolutely crazy. Now we're in 22, and I finally got to Girona. And Jonas sent an email out saying Charles is in town, who wants to get coffee and do a bike ride. And I just thought it'd be like one or two guys, like Jonas and somebody else, you know, someone who's doing their own thing. And there had to be, I think we have a picture of it somewhere, there had to be like 20 people, staff, riders. Joey came. Joey had a broken elbow, I believe. I got to meet his wife, his baby. I was just really taken back by that. And every one of these athletes that we were talking about, like, they're remarkable athletes, but also people as well. No, and that's where I get really, really proud of.
Like, well, and you know, it's infectious on the outside. And so I'm kind of gonna turn it and tell you where I saw it. You know, like when I was growing up in this world, I can't say a kid. I mean, I guess I can say a kid. When I was 19 and like getting into the sport, I was 300 pounds and watching the sport of cycling. And I learned about host housing. Like you could host these athletes and they would stay at your house and I could just ask them questions because they're staying at my house for free. And so I took advantage of that opportunity to just ask these guys a ton of questions and learn. And that's where I met Shane Klein, you know, and like, And so like I had these opportunities because they would come, because your guys, when they weren't doing the road races or whatever, they would go do these one-off crits and they just win a
Yeah.
ton of money because they go do it by themselves, and whatever else. And yeah, and like I looked up to guys like Eric Young and Shane Klein and those in Zerbal, like, those guys I watched, do that and to see, on the outside, I could see that like that is a team I would want to ride for
Yeah.
because they're
You
just like
have to,
friends and family.
you have to have fun, and the world of cycling, the world of sport in general, and just life, especially now during the pandemic, it's just really complicated, but you have to
Yeah.
have fun. And trust me, there's days where I'm not having so much fun,
Yeah.
but let me tell you, I love what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything else but this.
So are you going to move to Europe then? Isn't like the whole team, isn't it all based out in
We're
Europe?
migrating over more and more.
Yeah.
If anything, I'll go back and forth, and that's what I've been
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
You're trying to just get that airline status. I know you. You
You know what?
salty dog.
Let me tell you, it's getting a lot harder to fly back and forth when you get older. So,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
without the status, with the status, it's
Yeah,
still
it's pretty
painful.
brutal. It's
But
pretty
it's,
brutal.
we are doing some really great work here in the U.S.
Yeah.
We are, American registered team. We do have American athletes. We have American sponsors. I'm very fortunate being in Minneapolis. We're headquartered in Girona. I can be in Barcelona pretty quick, or I could be in Belgium, Paris for sure. I can be in like 7 hours. But we really have great people over there. We have some European athletes now. We have great European staff.
Yeah, you have a pretty dense. Yeah, you have a pretty dense European men's roster as well as women.
Yeah. No, we're really, and I got to say, every one of them, the mechanics, soigneurs, logistic concerns, the people that run all these different roles, directors, Hendrik Rendant, Alex Sanz Vega, and then you got Eric Wall. I mean, like, these are rock stars in the world of cycling. Wahlberg, Pat McCarty, Clark Sheehan's new to us. He's my age. I don't know if you know much about Clark, but Riley.
I know Riley because he came into the track and got to know Riley, and then I got to know Clark, and he's probably the chillest dude I've ever met in my life.
These guys, I was actually really sad when I left them, to be honest, when I was in Corona. They are really good people. And let me tell you, they work very hard. They're very professional. We want the best for everybody. And cycling is not easy. I mean,
no,
I see it every day. I see the crashes. I see
you lose a lot more in cycling than you win.
Yeah.
And that's what's so shocking to me, because you're a team that, you guys would come to America, you'd win in America, you would do really well in America. You won several crit national championships. As far as the road goes, was Joey the first? No, Joey wasn't. Joey can't be the first.
First,
road national champ.
Actually, you're really spot on. That is
okay, because I know you guys won the crit over.
We won the crit a bunch of times. We won the time trial with Zerbal. That was the first road championships that
in that jersey
through this. All the years coming out of this organization. It's the first time we ever won it, and what a race! I mean, that was an absolute unbelievable race. Alex Candelario, who I just adore. I love that guy. I miss him. And, Alex, you rock. Those were fun days. Alex was second to Benny King, who rides for us. He actually rode for us before. Benny won it in a solo breakaway. It was down in your neck of the woods, Greenville.
Yep.
Just destroyed everybody. And Alex was second. And that was the closest that we came to a road title. Jade Wilcoxon won it for the women it may have been Knoxville, it may have been Nashville or Louisville. I forget what city it was, but it was somewhere down there.
I think I want to say Ty Magner, when he was on Rally, was like third or something. Or
he was.
Yeah.
But
wow, that's crazy to think about, that you guys had never won it.
We never won it. Yeah, Joey brought it home, and Kyle Murphy, the whole team did great last year. So I'm actually going down this year.
You guys are defending it, because you guys like, I can see that you're chasing points for the World Tour. Like you guys, like it's. I would ask you what's next for you on the docket, but let's be real here. Like, I'm looking at it, I'm watching it happen at its finest. You guys are trying to go to the World Tour.
We're trying. I mean, we're really trying. It's And when we say going world tour, there's a way of doing it in what I think is, the proper way. And there's many ways to not do it as proper as one would think. But, we built out an infrastructure.
What do you mean by that? Are you saying like if you have enough money, you can figure out a license for a year? Is that what you're trying to
Yeah.
get at?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could go and, hire a bunch of riders and throw them against the wall and try and get where everybody works well together. And, we have a culture. I don't want to change that.
We've seen a lot of teams do that and fail,
Yeah.
like
And
miserably. Yeah.
yeah, we do not want to fail. I don't want to. I want to preserve what we have, and I want to grow it in a way that I think is reflective of where we're going. I want to do it with athletes. When you hear me talk about Mike and Sep and the smiles that I give them, because I am smiling when I think of those guys. We want to do it with athletes like that as well, and there's plenty of them out there. And we want to succeed. I want to have an environment where athletes exceed their own potential and believe in their potential and really capture that and provide them the tools to exceed on anything that they thought would be possible. I'm smart enough to know, it's sport. I've seen it all. Trust me. Just when I actually think I've seen it all, there's always something that throws
Something
me.
pops up. Yeah.
There's always something, but I think I've seen mostly anything that can go wrong in a bike race. But that also brings the excitement to me when it all comes together. Robin Carpenter last year, I thought I was going to have a stroke. I was so excited.
Yeah.
I mean, and then to have Robin call me with Pat McCarty at the finish line, like I could see him on TV talking to me, like the excitement at the Tour of Britain that we had, it all came together. And those moments are few and far between, but without the seconds, the thirds, the 28th, the 20, the 80th places, we couldn't cherish what we had in front of us on that day. And there was endless days like that throughout this career.
No, man. And and like I said, I feel like I could talk to you all night just about these stories because it's almost like we can see it from the outside. We can see Joey win. We can see Robin at the Tour of Britain. And like anybody that knows, and I don't know Robin personally, but I've seen him because, like I said, I started as a Cat 4 and I watched all these guys, like I learned and got to know these guys. And I want to say Robin's like close to my age. So I was like looking at people that are like near my age and he was riding for Hincapie, and I was like, man, he's got to go world tour. And you're seeing like Tom Scoogans and all these guys go world tour, and then like no Robin. And then he goes to rally, and you're like, oh, okay, like maybe here it is. And he's bouncing back and forth, and you're wondering like, oh, it's got to happen. And so like my heart breaks for him. And so to actually see that Tour of Britain win, like you kind of almost know how special that is without even fully knowing. You know what I mean?
And I'm just thinking off the top of my head, Evan Huffman, when he just 2 stage victories at Tour of California, and the manner that the team rode. We came to race at the Tour of California, as we always did there, but that was a very important race for us here in America, and have the success that Evan had. Rob Britton was second in a stage. Rob won Tour of Utah that year, I believe. I mean, it just like it's kind of a whirlwind for me, like kind of looking back, but unbelievable. And all these guys, I throw Evan, Rob, I mean, even Shane Klein, all
one of these days, Charles, I'm going to sit down with you and we're going to have a beer and we're just going to put together. I want to know your dream team, and nobody will ever know. Okay. We won't leak it. And I just want to know what your dream team is. And you can only use 2007 to that current date that we're at. Because I would love to know that, but I don't want to throw anybody under the bus on the podcast, because that would just be funny. Because it's
actually, I would speed dial Jonas and say, because he knows it all.
Yeah.
Jonas knows it all. And
we'll get Jonas in there too, because I need to meet him still fully as well.
Yeah, Jonas, amazing. And for everybody listening, 2007 was... Jonas remembers all this, but it was training camp, Oxnard, California, 17-foot trailer, a van that, I mean, we still have the trailer. It's lasted us all these years. It was the best investment we ever made. But it was a van, a trailer, and 2 team cars. Dave McCook on the team. I mean, it was as raw as it got when you think about starting the team.
Well, so that was the question I was going to ask, and I just remembered it. like, is there ever been a moment where you're like, I don't know if we can do it next year? Because
Oh yeah.
you always hear it in the grapevine. Like we all heard about Jelly Belly. We all heard about Wildlife. We all heard about United Healthcare. We all heard about Action. Like we heard about these. I couldn't tell you a time that I heard that there
You
might not
know,
be a rally
has there
or there might
been,
not be an Optum. You know?
has there been points for sure?
Yeah.
But it's not something that we're on top of it.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, we work hard, and we didn't let it affect the racing.
Yeah.
We were very, and there are some, reflecting, there were some points, you don't really know what's going to happen. But the one thing that, and I do have to learn from my own words, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in
Yeah.
what you do. And that's the one thing, when it did get a little crazy, I have really good mentors, friends, family. You have to believe in yourself. We work really hard, and it is the world of cycling. Things change quite a bit.
Yeah.
But the one thing I've always really stood by is we need to be responsible. And I tell a story. I said this yesterday with someone. Um, I don't know who it was, but I remember being introduced to one of her riders' wives, and they
Yeah.
told me that she was pregnant. And I was very happy, but I also went to my hotel room in 2007 and was like pretty nervous. Like, I'm responsible for this couple, and
Yeah.
now they're having babies. And then, you fast forward a few years, and, we have riders with three couples have babies, and it just
Yeah.
continued to grow and grow. And I don't know what it is now, but we have staff that have family. We have
Well, that's
riders
when you know you're doing it right, in my
have
opinion.
family, but it was always in my head, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And being responsible, and again, if it was not meant to be, we're on top of it, but we haven't dealt with that yet. So
That's
I mean,
so cool. Like I just think it's so cool. Like because I know it's probably you've probably seen this, like the Instagram versus reality. It's like, this is what I
yeah,
think I look like. This is what it
yeah,
actually looks like. I can only imagine some of the storm fires that you've dealt with and some of the things that have popped up out of nowhere and you didn't expect that or didn't see it coming, but it looks so clean, calm, cool, and collected on the outside. You know what I mean?
thank you.
And so that's why I had to ask. I was like, I need to know if there's ever been a point where Charles started to sweat going, oh shit, like this
Oh
team's
yeah.
probably not going to run next year.
Yeah, and I think, maybe not from a partnership level, but I also think that, the bandwidth and in my head, and how long do I want to do this, and there's that it's like being a bike racer, like how long do I
Yeah.
want to race a bike, and you have your great days, you have your good days, and you also have some days that aren't really a lot of fun, and you need to reflect on that. And like I said, I mean, I love what I do. Like I've been doing this so long. I learn every day. I love people. I love learning about things that I don't know about business, and I do get exposed to that, and I love marketing. So I love being creative, and how we can apply it to our business and our sport. But there are days where it's like, yeah, this is tough, and we experienced that 24 months ago.
Yeah.
COVID. We couldn't get riders to Europe, and it wasn't getting them into Europe, it was getting them out of the US.
Yeah.
And having European promoters understand that, or the UCI understand that. It was challenging for sure. And fortunately, cycling, I think, is coming back stronger than ever.
Yeah.
We're racing. We're having multiple races going on every single day. The crowds are unbelievable. And so I really feel like, yeah, once we get through this pandemic, in its entirety, I think we're going to see some really good things happen here in America, which Baltimore, it starts in Baltimore. This UCI,
Yeah.
hopefully you can
I'm
come
excited.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. I saw it on the docket. I might be at a camp with sailing, which is, something interesting, but
I can
it's
I can
in
hook
there.
you up on the Chesapeake if you want to
All right.
come
There
to
you,
Baltimore. Well,
so yeah. Well, that would be cool. Then we can actually do a podcast live too and just do
yeah.
something real quick. But yeah, like I said, man, I could talk to you all night long and pick your brain because, like, I have that interest in business and I have that interest. And, like I said, I'm only 3 years older than when you started with the mountain bike stuff. So it's really interesting to hear. So guys, if you're listening to this and this is something that you want to do, and these are things, what I'm really impressed with you on, Charles, is the fact that it was almost like you were always on the front end. It's almost like you knew, okay, mountain bike's hot right now. Like, let's do the mountain bike thing. Let's make the most of it and make the best of it. Okay, now we're into BMX X Games. Boom, full gas. Okay, I need to reset. Road, full gas. And like, that's when road was hot, man. That's $40,000 crits.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, Legion, Justin, love you to death, brother. But Thad Fisher did it. And really well. And Novant was one of the biggest, highest paying crits to date. And so it's so interesting to know. And then bam, now you're in Europe. And like between Alpecin and what is that, Intermarché, and I think those guys are World Tour, but like there's so many of these smaller teams that are starting to crack in, and I think that's the big struggle is like, between Bike Exchange and Lotto and Israel, some of these guys are starting to lose their World Tour contracts or their World Tour status because of teams like you are coming in and saying, hey, what's up? We're here to play
we're
too.
giving it a good run. It's, not always so easy, but we're giving it a good run. But it's I mean, it is pretty cool to see. And people ask me, are you surprised or, and that's kind of a trick question, because I always felt that, this is where I want to be and it will come. It has been a long journey, and we touched on how long that is. But reflecting, because it has been a blink of an eye, and there's been a lot of ups and downs and ups and lefts and rights and things like that. There's not a moment that I can say that I wish I did something different or I did it in a different way. Like we've really, within this organization, we work really hard at doing things the right way, working with our athletes the right way. Athletes have families, athletes have, numerous things. And we want to support them in every manner possible, like best equipment, best coaching, best travel schedule, things like that. And then also, hope, and it doesn't always work this way, that, they get the best results that they can get at, at that time. And I think it's a great formula for success. And, we all do every Monday, we're Monday morning quarterbacks too in the office, and we talk about it, but Jonas and the performance staff, unbelievable. A little secret, I don't pick the roster. Jonas calls me. He goes, "What about?"
There you go, guys. Don't start sending resumes to Charles just because.
I'll definitely look at it and I'll pass it along, but send it to Jonas Carney. Yeah. And Jonas, hats off to him. He's always like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Jonas, you guys know better." I had a potential sponsor years ago. He's not in the company anymore. So it was a guy, we went out for dinner, and he was kind of like trying to pick my brains and be a little adversarial. And he's like, "Well, why don't I just start my own team? I could start my own team and I hire you." And I'm like, "Well, it's not me." And he's like, "Well, I hire your staff." I'm like, "Yeah, that would be the smart." No, he actually, I take that back. He goes, "I would hire your riders. Why don't I just go and hire your riders?" And we started our own team. And I said, "I'm going to let you in a little secret. It has nothing to do with picking the riders. It is picking the staff, because the staff we have Jonas, Alex Sanz Vega, Hendrick, Eric Wahlberg, Pat McCarty, Joanne, Andrew Bajadali. There's 7 of them that know this a hell of a lot better than I do.
Yeah.
What the athlete is, who the athlete is, what the results are. And they have my trust to come and say, "Hey, we want to do this, this, and this."
Well, there has to be a reason why some of these athletes at such a young age are like, hey, like Brandon McNulty. Like,
I forgot about Brandon. He's the other one.
Yeah.
That's
your problem. Your big problem is the fact of how many riders are in the World Tour now that are doing so well, that actually pride themselves off riding with you first. Like they I think that was one of Brandon's things. It was like, I think my year at Rally is the reason why I'm at where I'm at today.
And
that was in an article.
And I apologize. There's a few others. It's late here in Minneapolis, so
no worries.
But Brandon, I saw him in Girona just for a brief. Jonas and I were on a bike ride, and we chatted with him for a while, and it was great. It was great to see him. You also have Magnus, who rode for us last year. He's on Neos now, and I haven't had the fortune of meeting Magnus because of COVID and all these headaches that we have with travel, but there's something there too. Hey, he came out of Rally, and there's other athletes as well that I really feel strongly that they got their
No,
start. Yeah,
yeah, no, I
they would
just
have done it
think
without us, but
for
they just
sure,
are
for
so
sure. I
talented.
mean, but like, let's think about it, right? Like, what, and I can harp on this all day, but especially for a guy like Sepp Kuss, it's like he was on Gateway Harley, right? And like, I love Chris Creed. He's an
Yeah,
amazing dude. And he got his, he's riding there. He's doing really well. And then you guys give him a shot. And like, in reality, you guys didn't have to do that. You
he would have.
didn't.
He,
And he
the,
probably would have figured it out, and he
yeah,
probably
all
would
these
have
guys would have figured it out, but
100%. But like, it makes life a lot easier once you get an opportunity, right? And
yeah,
and it's and I know even McNulty said it. He's like, I had other contracts, I had other offers, and maybe even quote unquote better offers.
yeah.
But I needed a little bit of time, and I needed some developing. And like, part of me wants to be like, bro, like, are you 45 years old? Like, how do you even think like this? But
Right.
the other part of me is like, wow, that's like, he put a lot of trust in you guys. And so that to me shows something. But anyways, we
It
can,
worked very well for Brandon, and he earned all the success. All these riders, they earned all the success that they have. I mean,
yeah,
I seem to say that a lot when I see these guys. Like, I'm just so proud of who they are, and the women too. I mean, Leah Kirschman, I think she was second in the World Cup one year. Megan's awesome.
yeah,
I
Megan,
mean, she really is. I miss her.
yeah, yeah,
There's others too, and it's just, the one day we'll have a reunion, and it's going to
yeah.
be just a fun
Well, that
time.
was another thing that I was trying to say is like, it's really special too to see riders that like leave the world tour, like maybe don't get re-signed, or, and there's got to be some burnt a little bit there too. And we're not going to mention any names who may be, you know, like had some struggles, at the world tour, or whether it was the coaching, whether it was the staffs of those other teams, but they come back to you, and like, it's almost like you offer a safe home,
Yeah, and I
which I
also
think is really
think
cool,
I think
because this
Ben.
sport's hard.
This sport
The
is
sport's
really
hard.
hard. I mean, Ben belonged here. Chad Haga
Yeah.
belonged here. I mean, they rode for us years ago, and
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time with them in Girona too, riding, and Swain Tough finished his career riding
Yeah.
for us that last year, and that was just absolutely great from a mentorship with our younger athletes. So I
Danny
think there's
Pate.
a lot. I'm sorry.
Danny Pate.
Danny Pate.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely late. I forgot about Danny. I mean,
Yeah.
Danny he was so much fun to have on the team, and
Yeah.
and there's a few others too. I mean, Mike Friedman was with us.
Yeah.
They're really great guys. Mike Creed rode for us. I don't know how many years. This is going back a few years. We had a lot of fun, and
Man.
and that also is just super important to this program.
Well,
But
sweet.
the direction that I feel very strongly where we want to go is, yes, I have our we're one team. Our women's program is competing in this inaugural Tour de France Femmes. Super excited about that. And what's the next accomplishment for me is, yes, I would like to get this men's team into a world tour, and that's what we're working on. World tour, a grand tour, and then slowly build on top of that to take us as far as we can go with this program. But we're super motivated. I'm not going to rest till we do it.
Yeah.
And just with the people that really past and present, we've had sponsors, we've had I think our first year we worked with Le Mans Bicycles.
Wow.
Yeah, this goes back a long way.
Yeah.
So past, present, and future partners. Like, without the partners in the past, we would never be the team we are today.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
No.
extremely grateful for everybody's support over the years.
Well, yeah, it's just crazy, because it's almost like, again, it's like the outside looking in. It just looks like every box got checked. And even if there was a new box added, and it maybe got checked late, it got checked. And it's like, there's not many pro continental teams that are, adding in a women's program as well. Like, they're trying to put it all into the men or all into the women because they want to get that next status. And
Yeah.
so the fact that we're like, no. Let's figure this out. Let's get that going. And then now you have the women in the world tour and which changes the game completely. And then boom, now they're in the, the Tour de France. And so like,
going back 11 years when we put together a proposal with Optum, this is when we became the Optum team. And we put in front of a female program, women's program. It made a lot of sense. And something that I always wanted to do. And that goes back now 11 years. Yeah. So it's again, one team. And I never felt, I mean, even going back, because it was from my mountain bike days, running mountain bike teams, we always had men and women.
Yeah.
It just never felt right. And even, I want to say 2007, 2008, 2009, we did have some conversations with standalone women's teams to take over their program or provide services, but something always came in the way. And we just had made a decision. We're going to go and pitch this ourselves. And then, we were able to put it together ourselves. So, I think looking back 11 years ago, same bicycle, same helmet, same uniform. I actually have some pictures of our team launch that we did here in Minneapolis. It was one team, and it still continues to function as one team today.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. So I know it's getting late, and I don't want to keep you all night, because like I said, I could talk to you all night, man. But I got one last question for you. And this is a question we ask everybody on the podcast. If you could have a cup of coffee, and I'm really excited about this one for you. If you could have a cup of coffee with one individual, anybody, dead or alive, who would that person be and why? And then how would you take your coffee? And see, I know this is going to be hard for you, but
I'm going to surprise you because it's not cycling related.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. I think that's actually that's healthy.
There's actually two, but they all fall in this. Both of them fall in the same category. I would say Rob Reiner or Mel Brooks.
Okay, why is that?
I just love the humor. I just love how they think. It's Rob Reiner in particular. These guys are brilliant, and it just flows. And so like Mel Brooks, I like old humor. These are the days where you got to be quick wit. You got to be really quick wit. So to have a cup of coffee with one of those guys, that would be a lot of fun to just kind of
decompress and just laugh.
Yeah, just laugh and cool, joke around. And I've had the good fortune of meeting a lot of people and having cups of coffee and those two would be, with Mel Brooks in particular, I mean, producer, actor, he's just a fun guy. It seems like to be with. And Rob Reiner too would be the same. It would just be really enjoyable. I like history. I like comedy. In cycling, I don't even know who it would be. But I could put some thought in that for our next call. But yeah, those two would be definitely, fun to hang out with.
No, that's awesome. Well, like I said, thank you so much. I could talk to you all night. Guys, if you haven't already, please make sure you go check out Rally's social media and make sure that you say hey to those guys if you're in Europe. And they'll be back. They're coming back over the sea, and I know they want that jersey again. I didn't even need to bring it up, but I'm assuming they want all three. So be ready, Knoxville. Be ready, and then they probably want to win this first edition of this Maryland race.
We're for all of you listening, come to Maryland. If you're in Maryland, come and cheer us on. It's going to be an amazing race, and it's I don't know how many World Tour teams are coming, but we're going to have quite a few World Tour teams and Pro Conti teams racing, and I think this is going to be the shot in the arm that we need to bring back racing in America. In the days where I come from the days of Philadelphia, Trenton, all these big races on the East Coast, and there's a lot of history here that's going to be made and reinforced in Baltimore, which I'm really, really excited about. So let's hope, cheer us on, and we'll put on a good show.
Charles, thank you so much, man. And thank you for jumping on this call late at night and letting me pick your brain. I was so excited once I got the email that I was going to have you on the podcast. This is super cool. Such an honor. And I really appreciate it, man. Guys, we'll see you next time. Cheers.